Whispering Willows. I'm Tonya,
I'm Jamie.
and I am a psychic medium.
I'm a therapist, mental health.
And today we're going to be doing Therapy 101.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be Barbara Walters, and I'll be asking all the questions. It'll be so exciting. And Jamie will be answering all of our questions.
Yeah.
And then we will talk about our experiences in the end with therapy.
Awesome.
So you want to get started?
Sure.
Oh, wait. This is Parker. I forgot. Yeah, she's here. All right. How do you define therapy, and what's its main goal?
Good question. So for starters, I want to say, you'll hear me use the terms therapy and psychotherapy interchangeably, and also therapist and psychotherapist interchangeably. And the reason why I do that is because, if you say, oh, I'm a therapist, people a lot of times will be like, oh, what kind of therapist? And they're thinking physical therapy, occupational therapy. And so, it just, adding the psycho prefix in front of it, like the root of psychology, it just kind of explains that it's a mental health therapist, it's a psychotherapy, psychology based. So, but essentially psychotherapy is just talk therapy. And it's, it's using psychological methods to help people with their problems and, find patterns and bring more happiness and better well-being to people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
What are some common misconceptions about therapy?
There are a lot of misconceptions about therapy. Actually, I have a funny story about that. This was several years ago, and I was in the dating world. I was still
not dating.
dabbling in the online dating apps. And I was talking to this guy. We had been just chatting for a couple weeks, and we had plans to move into meeting up for a date.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to talk on the phone before we met up. I'm not really a big phone talker, but I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I get it. I see the value in having a phone conversation before you go on a date. So we did. And so he's asking me about what I do, what kind of clients I work with and stuff. And I mentioned that I work with, depression, anxiety, trauma, people who may be having relationship issues, life transitions, that kind of thing. And he said, well, do you ever feel like a hypocrite? And I was like, excuse me? And he said, well, you said that you work with people who are having relationship issues, but you're not in a relationship and you've never been married. So don't you feel like a hypocrite?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I guess you didn't go on that date.
I did not go on that date. No. I kindly let him know that we are not a match.
Yes.
So I think that's a big misconception of therapy, is that we tell people what to do, or we give advice, and direct people on how to live their lives, which is absolutely not what we do. And I came up with an acronym to talk about what we do.
Oh, okay.
And so the acronym is LIVE, okay? So the L is for listen. So we listen to people's stories. We hear them, and maybe their story is, if it's one of the first couple sessions, it might be that they're sharing their whole entire life story from 10, 20, 30 years ago things. If it's somebody I've been seeing for a while, it might be that they're telling the story about what happened at work yesterday that upset them, right? So we're listening to their story, but story can mean many different things.
Right.
And then the I is for identify. So while we're listening, we're identifying in our minds different patterns that we're picking up on. Patterns or, different behaviors that maybe the client isn't recognizing. Because think about it, when you're living your life, you're just living, you're doing what feels normal, especially if it's a generational pattern, right? I grew up this way. Isn't this normal? Isn't this just what we do? And sometimes we don't recognize, that's not normal. Every family doesn't do that.
We've talked about that.
Yeah. And so that's a big role for a therapist, is to identify what may or may not be working anymore. And then the V is for validate. So lots and lots of validation, because we never want our clients to feel like they're crazy.
Right.
Or feel like their problems are not normal, right? So we want to normalize things and say wow, that sounds really hard. I'm so sorry you had that experience. Or, I would have been mad too. I get why you were mad. you know, just like a lot of validation to help them feel comfortable and to let them know, like, I'm not judging you. Like, I get it. I'm here with you, you know.
Right.
And then the E is for empower. So a lot of empowerment and, you know, letting them identify their own strengths and how to use those strengths to overcome new challenges, and helping them look back on obstacles they've already overcome in their life and recognize, oh, that's because I'm strong and resilient, and so like I can make these changes in my life too. So just a lot of empowerment.
Nice. I like that. That's awesome. Thanks. I'm over here like, man, I'm not doing anything. Like, what's going on? What are some signs that someone might benefit from therapy?
You know, that's such a broad answer, because it can be so many different things. You know, people come into therapy for, you know, really deep, serious, like big T traumas, which in the psychology world, a big T trauma is, you know, some really significant traumatic event, like being a combat, you know, military personnel, or a sexual assault, or, you know, some really significant child abuse kind of thing. And so a lot of people come in for those things, but then a lot of people come to therapy for what they call little T traumas, which is like, oh, I went through a divorce, or I changed jobs and it's really stressful, I'm having a hard time adjusting, or I'm fighting with my partner and I don't know what's going on. You know, and it could just be, I have clients now who they, you know, maybe just want to check in like once a month because they're doing pretty good, they're pretty steady, and everything is going fairly well, but they just like to have that sounding board to make sure that they're on the right track and they're like still focused on their goals and moving forward, and, you know, not falling back into old patterns. So it doesn't always have to be like some major like life event that brings people into therapy, but you know, if you find yourself crying a lot, or it's harder to get out of bed, or your energy level is low, or you know, you're getting really angry and irritable all the time, you know, or you're too overwhelmed to complete your tasks of the day, like your house is a mess and you can't, you know, get yourself to clean or do the laundry, like, you know, there might be something deeper going on. It might not be that you're lazy or you're procrastinating, or maybe you are procrastinating, but maybe that's because of anxiety, like, you know, so there's lots of reasons.
Definitely put off the things that you need to get done. So what advice would you give someone who's hesitant to start therapy?
I would say just do it. You know, and I know that sounds really simple, and it's not, and I recognize that it's not that simple, but you know, for a therapist who goes to school, you know, like we have to get our master's degree. Some, like if it's a psychologist, they've gotten their doctorate, and we don't do that because we want to sit around and judge people, right? We wouldn't have gone that far in our education. Like we don't, we're not there to judge, and we're literally just there to help people become the best version of themselves, their favorite version of themselves, whatever that looks like for the individual. And, you know, so I would say, like, try to keep that in mind, that, you know, this person that I'm going to go talk to is not going to judge me. They're not going to put me down. They're not going to make me feel crazy. And nothing bad is going to come of it. You know, that's the other thing. Like, you're either going to have a great experience and make really positive, you know, life-changing growth, or maybe you're going to be like, it's not for me. And that's okay. But, like, you know, trying out therapy, nothing bad is going to come of it.
Yeah, it's true. How can someone find a therapist who's a good fit for them?
Yeah, there's so many different like online platforms and directories that they can go to. So there's psychologytoday.com is one of my favorites. And you can filter it by like, what is your insurance, and what gender are you looking for, or what, you know, if there's like certain like cultural factors that you want in the person that you talk to, you know, and different issues that they specialize in. You can, you know, search all those different filters to find somebody, if you want online or if you want in-person sessions.
Yeah, but you do online sessions.
So I
like
do
you
online.
Work from your home.
Yeah. I always went to the office. Well, I've been in private practice for 9 years, I guess. And I used to have an office. when I lived in North Carolina. And so I always would go into the office and see people in person. And then with COVID, COVID hit and kind of the whole world went online. And that's when I decided to move states. And so, which was really perfect for me because all of my same clients, like, I was able to continue seeing them. Right. So when I moved somewhere else, I didn't have to start over rebuilding my practice and rebuilding my clientele. So, yeah. And online therapy is not for everybody either. Some people really would benefit more from a face-to-face in-person situation. And that's okay too. But
sounds strange though, because
I enjoy it.
It's 2024 and nobody really wants to like go
go places. I know.
It's like, so
I love having to not go places.
Me too. I'm the same. Being at home is great.
Yes.
So did you want to cover like any other therapy types?
So I will talk about like, there's over 1,000 different types of therapy, like different techniques. That's the most recent data that I saw. I probably stick to like 4 or 5. And most therapists will call themselves eclectic, right? And meaning like we just kind of pull from different theories and different methods in our sessions. And I think that's best because it's not a black and white career. Like it's not, you know what I mean? Like it's not a cookie cutter situation where the same method is going to work for every person or in every situation. And so, I'm always kind of bouncing around with the different techniques. But one of the big ones that I use is cognitive behavioral therapy. And so essentially what that is we look at how our thoughts impact our mood. And so, if let's say I had plans to go to the beach today and I was really looking forward to it and I was excited for this beach day, and then I wake up in the morning and it's raining. And it's, going to be thunderstorming all day long, so I'm not going to be able to go to the beach. What are my thoughts going to be surrounding today? Am I going to say, my day is ruined, Mother Nature ruined my plans, today's going to suck, now what am I going to do? It's so unfair. Right? Because then I'm going to be in a cranky mood. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do today, but I'm probably going to be all bummed out. And, that's not good for my mood. Whereas if I'm like, it's raining, that sucks. But okay, what else are we going to do? Maybe we'll go bowling. Maybe we'll watch a movie. Like, And so really, and that's like a very, very simple, basic example of that. But a lot of times our thoughts are very negative, about ourselves. Like, even looking at negative self-talk. Right? Like, I'm such an idiot. I can't believe I did that. Like we have to pay attention to how we speak to ourselves because we absorb that energy. And so that can be really impactful to our self-esteem and our sense of self. And so that's cognitive behavioral therapy. I do a lot of positive psychology, and that's just pretty much what it sounds like, just helping people identify their strengths and how resilient they are as humans. And I work with teenagers sometimes, and typically whenever I end a session with a teenager, I end it with a question. Like, okay, before we go, I want you to tell me 5 things that you're proud of about yourself. Or I want to hear 5 things that you think you did well today. Or tell me 3 challenges you've overcome in the past month.
I feel like we could all do that every day. I mean, we need to write. I try to journal. I'm not, I don't do it all the time like I should, but I feel like even having questions like that you think of every day. And like things that you're grateful for, because it puts your mind into that mindset of being grateful and happy.
Absolutely.
So
Tell me 5 things you're grateful for.
I am grateful for Parker.
Yes.
I love her. I feel like she's kept me out of a lot of trouble, so she's good. I'm grateful for you as a friend. I feel like we've grown closer, over the years, and just like understanding each other, and we have an understanding, and I think that actually our friendship has not necessarily been easy, but we consider each other, and I'm very grateful for that because I've learned a lot from you, so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my career because it allows me to like live the life I want. And I get to work from home, so that's amazing. I can travel anywhere and go anywhere. I'm also grateful for, gosh, there's like so many things. It's like, how am I going to name all of how do you pick all of the things that you're grateful for? I mean, I'm grateful for my coffee in the morning, you know, because I don't know what kind of people don't drink coffee. So I don't understand them. So I'm also grateful for my gifts as being a psychic medium, because I get to see people on the other side. Like, after they're gone, I still get to communicate with them, and it's actually amazing. Like, people think it's scary, but it's actually amazing, and I am grateful for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was kind of hard though. You know, like, oh gosh, like, yeah, you need to think of these things, but you know what? I'm in a good mood. You know, I'm just like, Tonya, you really have it, like, what you need in life. So
see,
it makes sense.
And then the other kinds of therapies that I do two specifically that are a little bit more somatic, meaning they're more like based on the mind and the body. And we're not going to talk probably much about them today because they're kind of in depth, and that's probably a topic for another day. But it's EMDR, which stands for eye movement desensitization reprocessing, which is a mouthful. And then it's EFT, which is emotional freedom technique. And EFT is about tapping on our pressure points. It's the same points that an acupuncturist uses. And so it, you know, really like gets the energy flowing through the body, because if we're in an anxious state or, you know, we have trauma, sometimes the energy just gets like stuck and stagnant in our bodies. And so, you know, the tapping can just help it flow through. So
we'll have to practice that one day, because I think that'll be cool.
That would be really cool. You can
I do have a lot of, I do have a lot. I mean, I feel like sometimes, and I think that people think this, like, if you're friends with like a therapist, and I think we've had these conversations, like, oh gosh, is she analyzing me right now? You know what I mean? But I don't feel like that with you ever.
Don't?
No,
Good.
I don't ever feel like that with you. I'm sure you are, because you're like, this girl, you know? But I'm just saying that I don't feel like it's like that. I feel like everything's normal. I'm also the person that is like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really care, but I mean, I have like thought of it in my brain, but I think sometimes other people will say something like that, and I'll be like, and just, but I think,
and that's another thing too, like, that's a really good point, is you know, like that guy that I almost went on a date with, you know, the misconception is that if you're a therapist, obviously you have your shit together, right? And like, I mean, I do in a lot of ways, but like, I'm not perfect. You know, like, I have my own issues too. You know, I have my own goals that I'm working on every day, and I'm always trying to grow and evolve. And so, you know, when I'm talking to my girlfriends and they have something, you know, something negative that went on, like, I can probably relate to it. You know, it's not like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she did that. It's more like, oh yeah, I've been there too. You know?
I definitely think that I understand, like, we're all human. You know what I mean? So, like, understanding that about you, and like seeing, like, I mean, we've all made mistakes. So, and I see, so I'm not, you know, I'm not judging people, except for maybe the people that don't drink coffee. I just don't know. Like, I don't understand. If you guys could show me how to not drink coffee, but I love it so much.
I don't think that needs to be a personal goal of yours. I think there's
so good. I don't know how I would go without it. It's a whole situation. We're going to start doing local coffees.
Yes.
So we have a lot of local coffee places, and we're going to start like showing up and bringing those coffees in, so you guys can kind of see what's going on here in Myrtle Beach.
In the coffee scene.
Like, I have been to therapy. Me and my ex went to therapy. I think that he was very closed off to it. But when I did go to therapy, I remember thinking, if I pick a therapist, I need it to be a man so that he will listen. to this therapist. You know what I mean?
So your partner will listen.
Yeah. So, because in my brain, I was just like, I'm going to listen. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's a man or a woman. I'm going to listen.
Yeah.
But just understanding, like, what he was going through, I was like, I feel like a man would understand
Yeah.
more about what he was going through.
Yeah.
Because to me, and I don't want to say that it wasn't a me issue.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take, you know, my part in these things, but I'm the one that set up the therapy, and, like, we went together, and so it was, I appreciated the therapy, and I liked it, but, you know, we still didn't work out, but it wasn't because of the therapy, you know.
Yeah.
But also my daughter, you know, her dad has, like, never really been around, and so when we moved, and when she was a teenager, we moved to Ohio, and she got pretty rebellious, but at the time, my husband was very involved with her, and he played the father role, and he did an amazing job, and he was there for her. So we actually all went to therapy with her.
Oh, okay.
And I think that helped because she understood that he was there for her.
Yeah.
And that I was there for her, that we were all on the same team.
Yeah.
You know, and but also it had a lot to do with emotions and hormones and stuff like that.
Of course.
Like, she's going through all of these changes and stuff. So it was hard for her already.
Yeah.
And then kind of feeling abandoned from her biological dad.
Sure.
Her whole life, and not realizing that this guy is here. You know, and even though me and him split up, they still talk. Because she lives in Ohio now, and they still talk. Oh my goodness, Parker. Be careful.
No, that's good.
So,
and that's a good point too about therapy is, you know, what I do is mostly individual sessions, but, you know, it can definitely be done in, you know, couples counseling or family therapy or group therapy. Probably about a decade ago, I used to run a group, this was in person, for women who were dealing with depression and anxiety. And it was, like, seriously my favorite time of the week. You know, it was like, I don't know, Tuesdays at 2:00 or whatever the time was. And, like, I always looked forward to this, you know, this one time of the week and this one group session because the women were so wonderful and, you know, and they were so appreciative, and they always commented about, like, how much the group was helpful to them. And a lot of times it's not even about the therapist in a group therapy situation. It's about your group members and, like, feeling like you're not alone in what you're dealing with, and feeling like your problems or your struggles are, like, normal in a way, you know, like, you're not crazy.
Right.
And so that can be really, like, powerful for group members.
I agree. Whenever I started seeing more things and hearing more things, and, you know, my senses started opening more, I was scared. And someone suggested, well, why don't you find a group? You know, and I did kind of treat it like it was my therapy because they were like-minded people. And they understood me, and they didn't make me feel crazy.
Right.
You know, so that completely makes sense.
Yeah.
To be in a group that, like, everyone is like-minded. They understand what you're going through. So, I mean, it was really good in that way. So,
Good.
I feel like we do have, like, even if we're not going to a therapist, there are things that are like therapy. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like I go to bar class. I do it to keep my sanity because my job is so stressful.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to go. Like, I need to shut it down because when you work from home, it's hard to just shut it down and shut it off.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, okay, it's time for me to go. I have to go to this bar class because if I don't show up, they're going to charge me $20.
Yes.
So, you know. So
and if I do show up, I'm going to feel good afterwards.
Exactly. I'm going to feel good. I know I'm going to get it done, and I feel better, and then I can probably eat cake later, and I won't feel as bad. So
it's all about the cake.
I mean, yeah.
All about dessert.
The cake.
Dessert and coffee, right?
Dessert and coffee. That's all we need. Like, what are vegetables? Weird. I don't
Tonya
know.
is the person who eats dessert before her dinner. So we'll go out to eat, and, you know, we're all ordering our round of drinks, and we're looking at the menu to see what we want for dinner. This girl is like, excuse me, can you tell me what you have for dessert? She'll be like, yes, okay, I'll have the limoncello cake, please.
Listen, we have to make sure that we have space, okay?
Yes.
Like, the important things in life are limoncello cake. I'm just saying. A good limoncello cake from an Italian restaurant.
Yeah, we're getting our salads and our appetizers, and she's over here eating her
like,
cake.
This is good. You guys should get one.
It's hilarious.
And they always, like, bring, like, extra spoons and stuff, and I was like, they're eating their salads, like, Like, you guys want to try this with your salad?
I feel like you always catch the surfer off guard. They're
I
like,
know. They're so
"Dessert?"
confused. They're like, wait, what? Are you going to order? And then when I want to order something, they're just like so busy they don't realize that like if I do want to order something.
Like you didn't order your actual meal yet.
So,
Yeah.
but it's whatever. It's a good time, you know? Like, you got to live. You never know when your last day is. And if I die and I had limoncello for dinner, like, it's going to be good. Yeah, I'm good with that.
You're
it's a
ending
good day.
on a high note.
I think it's a good day. So,
yeah, so I wanted to point out something before.
okay.
And, like, obviously I just said I'm, like, not analyzing my friends, which I'm literally not. But
it's okay. You can use me as an example.
But
Go
I
ahead.
noticed before you made the statement that I should go to bar class. Or you said I should something. And so, like, just like one little easy tip to think of is not shoulding on ourselves. That's what I call it, right? Because if we're like, oh, I should do more work, or I should go to the gym, or I shouldn't have done that. I should have worked harder, right? All those should statements, we're really just shaming ourselves.
Do you know what I mean? Than that,
yeah. So, like, you know, you can.
I am going to go to bar class.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or I think I would like to go to bar class. Or I get to go to bar class.
Yeah. Right? I get to go to bar class.
So, yeah. So, for our listeners, don't should on yourself. Try to just pay attention to those should statements.
Don't should on yourself.
See if you can change them up a little bit.
I like it. I like it. Well, thank you for talking about this today. Like, I feel like I've learned, you know, even more.
Yay.
And, you know, that you're listening to me.
Yeah.
So, you hear me. You see me.
I hear you. I see you.
So, I think we just can, like, recap that, like, therapy is, like, something that it's not, you know, oh, you need therapy.
Yeah.
It's not like that. Everyone needs this kind of interaction with other human beings.
And we will talk about this, you know, later on in the show about, like, on other episodes, about how therapy has evolved. Because, you know, if you think about, like, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, right? Or Girl Interrupted.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, there's, like, some things in media and in, like, older generations and in the past, long ago, where, you know, therapy was only for really severely mentally ill human beings, right? And, you know, and of course, like, Sigmund Freud is known as the father of psychotherapy, and a lot of his theories were good, but a lot of his theories were kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
And luckily, most therapists don't really follow his stuff that much anymore. But, you know, like, there is that misconception that is, like, subsiding with each generation.
Yeah.
Like, more millennials go to therapy, more Gen Zs go to therapy. You know, baby boomers didn't really so much go.
No.
And
that's why we didn't so much go, you know,
Yeah.
growing up. And I feel like everyone is so much more open to everything.
Exactly.
And I feel like being yourself is the new cool thing to
Yes,
do. Like,
yes.
just be yourself. And I'm
Totally.
here for it.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember when I was probably 14 or 15, and my parents were going through a pretty tumultuous divorce. And I remember my mom called the high school one day, and I didn't know this, but the school counselor, like, came to my classroom, pulled me out of class, and was like, yeah, your mom called me and wanted me to check in with you. And I was pissed. I was so mad because, you know, I'm like this little
like
14-year-old, like, thinking I'm tough and badass and I don't need to talk to anybody about my problems. I've got this, you know. But I met with the lady. She was very nice. Miss Lily, if you're out there, hello. I still remember you. And I ended up loving my meetings with her, you know, and I would talk to her individually, one-on-one. And then I joined a group that she had with, like, other kids in the school that were having struggles, and we would go on these retreats, and I ended up freaking loving it, you know. But I definitely had that, like, I cannot believe my mom did this to me.
Well,
you know?
I mean, it would have been in the late 80s, early 90s. So it would have been like
92, probably.
Yeah. I mean, we, like, kids were mean in the 90s, and it was almost like it was okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that, like, I definitely said things that I would not say today, and did things that I would not do today.
Of course.
But yeah, it probably you felt in the beginning, oh, everyone's judging me. Everyone's looking at me like, oh, she's got to go to the counselor, you know?
And I think I had that misconception that seeking help is like a sign of weakness, right? Like, oh, my mom must not think I'm strong enough to deal with this by myself.
Right.
And that's not what it's about. You know, getting therapy or any kind of mental health is, it's not a sign of weakness. It should be as normal as going to the doctor when you have the flu.
Right.
Like it should be normalized in that way.
Agreed.
So I think as a society, we're slowly but surely getting there.
Yeah.
That's my hope.
I agree. So I want to thank everybody for talking with us. And Jamie, thank you for going into depth about this and telling your story. So, you know, if you guys, you keep watching, subscribe so you can learn more. We're going to have more episodes. Next week we'll be talking about generational differences. So that'll be fun and interesting. We'll be talking about those baby boomers.
Yeah.
What they did to us. I'm just kidding. So yeah, check us out on social media. We have a Facebook page.
Yeah.
It is Whispering Willows X, and we have a Instagram page now. It's Whispering Willows X. So you can find us there. If you want to reach out to us or you have questions, put them down below. Make sure you subscribe, and we will see you next week.
Yes.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.